As we patiently wait for the NBA season to return, the one thing that's going to be constant in this charge videos is going to be talking about the NBA draft. That's the next great thing that's going to be happening. Obviously, we're still waiting on the NBA season to resume due to the outbreak that happened. But nevertheless, the one thing that we can look forward to, like I said, is the NBA draft. And here on the charge, we're going to be talking about a couple players, but we're going to start off with this episode talking about one player in particular, the one that's probably has the most X factor, the one that really could set the world on fire in terms of what team he goes to, and that is of course Lamelo Ball, the first player that we're going to be talking about in this year's NBA draft. And the reason why we're going to be talking about him is because watching a couple videos, watching his highlights, watching his lowlights, watching all the stats that I see from Lamelo Ball, looking at his Australian Basketball League numbers, Lamelo Ball is a very interesting prospect as we continue to move forward, because the fact that he is such an X factor in this league, in this draft I should say, is the fact that he is able to do a lot of things that his brother, he's similar to his brother in many aspects, and here in this video I'm going to show you why. Now, the first thing we have to do before we talk about the stats, before we talk about anything else, is of course the background of Lamelo Ball. We know that Lamelo Ball is the youngest of the three Ball brothers, and that's of course coming from Lonzo, who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans, and of course Jello, who plays for the Oklahoma City G League team, which I can't remember the name of. But nevertheless, he's the youngest of the three, and really has the potential to be the best one out of the three. And I think that LeVar Ball talked about it in a couple episodes when they were talking about his sons on Undisputed, on First Take, before he could ever come back there again. I mean, there's a lot of things that we like about LeVar Ball, but the thing is that I do think that I agree with him in the aspect of I think that LaMelo could be the best Ball brother out of the three. Now, when it comes to Lamelo Ball, the first thing we have to look at are his stats, right? He's a guy that averaging 17 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds a game. And the fact that he averages that in the Australian Basketball League is very impressive, and I think that those numbers can really excel him to be, maybe a top 3 lottery pick if we really think about it, because what he has an advantage over the other players that are playing in the NCAA is the fact that they don't have the NCAA tournament to boost or hurt their stock. And that could be for both LaMelo and RJ Hampton, as they both play in the Australian Basketball League this past year. And the cool thing about LaMelo Ball, looking at all this stuff, is the fact that as a 6'7" lanky point guard, you could say that he has the most potential out of everybody in this draft. RJ Hampton is, again, another one of those guys. But the fact that LaMelo Ball almost has a similar wingspan to a guy like Anthony Edwards, maybe I'm wrong on that. But, the fact that he is very long and lanky just makes him, like I said, the biggest X factor. And these are a couple of reasons, some pros and cons that I've come up with about LaMelo Ball. The first one that I have to say is just his full court passing ability. The fact that it's similar to Lonzo, where he's able to just kind of quarterback pass it to a guy, down the court, and the guy's able to catch it and make a pinpoint pass accuracy like he's Tom Brady or Peyton Manning out there, or, Patrick Mahomes. He is a very great at that aspect, and I think that his brother kind of taught him that as he was growing up in the Chino Hills area, and that's kind of something that I think that even playing at Chino Hills, that's what he developed. I mean, we saw Lonzo do it a lot to his brother. I mean, even Jello did it at points to his brother when he scored 92 points, that being LaMelo. There's a lot of things that really are interesting about LaMelo Ball, and this is one of them. The fact that he's able to make those full court cross passes, break starter Hall of Fame, this kid is the real deal, and I think that he's going to be an X factor in this league. Now, of course, when it comes to pros, there's also cons, and this is one of the cons that I've come up with, and that is shot selection. There's times in LaMelo Ball's career, and this might have stemmed from when he was an elementary kid, and his brothers and his dad and his mom, especially his dad, really hyping him up and telling him that he's the what. But having that mentality, it's of course, you're gonna start chucking up shots, you're going to start, scoring buckets, but they're not going to be efficient buckets. And the fact that LaMelo Ball, when he's playing in the league, and just seeing him even in high school playing, it's he's a guy that doesn't understand the clock and situation. There'll be, 5 seconds off the clock when the play starts, and he'll just chuck up a 3, which is just not something that you want to see in the NBA, especially for guys that really are systematic guys. When you're working your way to becoming a superstar, when you're like LeBron James, then you might have that liberty, or when you're Trae Young, you might have that liberty as well. But nevertheless, that's something that LaMelo has to really work on in the league, and that's, of course, shot selection, because he's not going to be taking those shots, or else coach is going to be yanking him and putting him on the bench, and his dad's going to even whine and complain even more than he already does about, Jello, the fact that he's not in the league. I mean, there's just things about LaMelo's shot selection that he really needs to work on, and that's the one thing that I think he needs to work on in his game. And hopefully the coaching staff at the Australian Basketball League, and even his coaching staff that are helping him get ready for the NBA draft, I'm hoping that they're doing that for him as well. Now, the one thing that I think he really developed when he grew playing in Australia and playing the Sylvanian and even playing at IMG Academy is his playmaking ability. I think we really saw that before he was just the 92 point per game score, like not 92 point per game, but he scored 92 points in the game at Chino Hills, sophomore, the scorer of the family. But really, as he continued to grow and develop in each of these leagues, I think that his playmaking ability is something that really stands out to me and something that, you know, only that Lonzo can rival that playmaking ability. When we watch LaMelo Ball's playmaking ability, the one thing that really stands out is the way that he's able to pass off the pick and roll and even just attacking the lanes. Like he's able to create these passing lanes that rival Lonzo Ball's passing lanes. Like the fact that he's able to make these assists, make these passes, just kind of goes to show you that he's kind of the whole package of all two of the brothers. Like he is just a combination of the two. Like the fact that Lonzo Ball's passing ability and even his three-point shooting ability has gotten a lot better now that he's worked on this new jumper and there's no longer coming across the face with it. He's actually worked and developed a great shot, and Lonzo is really looking forward, and I want to make a video on this, but you know, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here talking about it. But going back to LaMelo Ball, the fact that he kind of has that ability to kind of create passing lanes for everybody, knows where to do those hockey assists. I mean, he'll do some stuff where he'll just kind of back pass it across the key, heads to the guy in the corner, and he scores a three, and that's a hockey assist. Like there's a lot of things about LaMelo's game that's very enticing, especially his playmaking ability. As you know, like I said before, we kind of saw him as just a scorer. He's really developed into a playmaker and also a scorer, but that's something that I'm really impressed with LaMelo Ball for, and it's something that you should be looking out for when you're watching his highlights and even lowlights as we continue to keep going on. The next thing I will say, and this is kind of a generational thing, and I think that's the passing lanes gambling for steals. Like we all know that player that kind of, you know, coaching this and just seeing players kind of do this, the fact that when they see and they're going for stealing a pass, especially very high up the court, you allow them to have an advantage on a 5-on-4 opportunity. And that's something that you really hate to see, because I think that LaMelo Ball as a 6'7" guard, you know, something that he can switch 1 through 3, it's very critical for, especially in today's NBA where it's almost positionless. The fact that I kind of see him gamble for steals and kind of create opportunities for the other team is a very big no-no, and this kind of goes to his basketball IQ. I think this goes to his defensive IQ more than likely, because I think he spends a lot of time on the offense. It's just defensively, like a lot of people have been criticizing, it's very I don't know what the right word is, but it's just something that he really needs to work on, because there's times when I watch the Draft Express, trying to do research for this video, and even watching highlights and lowlights, you really see that his defensive IQ is very, I wouldn't say minimal, but it's almost like he doesn't really pay attention to that end, right? So let's say, for example, a player's driving on the right-hand side, LaMelo Ball's guy's in the corner over here, the guy drives right. Instead of LaMelo Ball, what you're not supposed to do is overhelp. So you're not supposed to overhelp, come, the guy will get stopped here and then kicks it out to the three-point guy, and that's a wide open three, an inside-out three, something that's an easy shot that even in high school that you're taught not to do. And the reason why, like I said, is because when you go on the strong side, driving right, and you overhelp, that's an open three, and then you clog, and then you know, even though you compact the lane, the problem is that if you have a great three-point shooter that you're guarding, you're letting him have an open shot. And even if he's not a great three-point shooter, even if he's just a decent three-point shooter, having an open lane to kind of shoot the ball is just not okay. And I think that LaMelo Ball, as he continues to grow and become more mature, and as he also develops a motor too, that's something that I've been a little disappointed with his defense, is that like the offense is there. I think offensively he's got it in terms of like playmaking ability. I think in terms of shooting he's going to develop it, and you know, we'll continue more on as we talk about attacking to the rim. But defensively, it's the motor that I think needs to be more revitalized, or he needs to really work on, because I think that right now he's kind of okay with where he's at, but I think that as he continues to grow and become a better player, that is something that will develop, and that's something that I will see him being more mature about as he continues to grow in this league. And like I said, LeVar Ball even said it. He hasn't gotten his grown man body yet, and I think that as he continues to grow in this league, once he turns 22, 23, we're going to be watching out for LaMelo Ball as he decides to, you know, be, you know, a better version, I think, of his brother. And that just kind of leads me to the last thing, a couple of two things, and that's just two cons, right? Another one would be finishing around the rim. Just like his brother in his first couple of years, he kind of short arms it. He alligator arms the layups instead of going full extension. It's kind of like a short arm. It doesn't really finish very well against tall, lanky defenders. And when you play in the NBA, when you play in the Australian Basketball League, you got to start making shots over taller defenders, because that's what your bread and butter is going to be, especially when you come off pick and rolls. They're going to leave you wide open just to go against the big man to finish. So you got to start being able to finish over players, and that's something that I think he's working on. And then the last thing is just like I talked about, his athleticism and his muscle build. I think that he will develop that just like Lonzo did this coming season, especially, having a chip on his shoulder, especially with the LA Lakers kind of dumping him. He really had to really prove to them, like, look, you made a mistake in not picking me up. So that's really cool to see that Lonzo has taken that step. I want to see LaMelo take that step, because I think he has the ability to do that. It's just a matter of when he's going to do it, because obviously it depends on what team's going to take him. And that's kind of what leads me to my overall assessment of LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is a great player. I think he's even going to be a superstar in this league. And if he can develop those defensive abilities, then his defensive IQ can be raised even higher. I think that he's going to be a superstar in this league. I think I even see him being better than Lonzo, and I love Lonzo. And I think Lonzo's going to be a Jason Kidd-like player. LaMelo could even be better than that. I think that LaMelo has that capability of being almost, I would say, Steve Nash-like, even Trae Young-like. I mean, I think that, it might be me, overhyping him a little bit, but I do see that LaMelo has those Steve Nash-like qualities. Although his three-point percentage would tell you that it's not, shooting 15%, I just think that comes with the shot selection. The mechanics are great. It's just about the shot selection. I think that once he refines it and once he understands, like, okay, I shouldn't be taking this three, that's when you're going to see a dangerous LaMelo. And I do think that there's a couple teams that could take him. I think the Knicks are one of those teams. I think the Knicks are really needing a box office name after losing guys like Spike Lee and many others. People in New York are just tired of, paying season tickets to Madison Square Garden, to James Dolan, with not really doing anything. The one thing that would suck is I don't want LaMelo to go to a guy like James Dolan, who doesn't really give a crap about the team and just cares about the doing his own thing. So I'm hoping that the Knicks are not there, because I think that the only way that they can get better is by getting rid of the owner. The owner's a cancer to the team. The owner's a cancer to the players. He just doesn't really care about them, and I will be, scathing him, and I will be upset with him, because I do think that the Knicks and Knicks fans, our boy Pete on the channel, he's a big Knicks fan, and the problem that I see is that he's upset, and I don't blame him, with guys like James Dolan don't really care about the team. They're not getting guys. I mean, they lucked into Mitchell Robinson. They lucked into a couple guys. They didn't really work to get those guys. I mean, yes, you have a decent front office, but the fact that James Dolan's your owner and he's not really being respectful to the fans and also respectful to the owners and GMs and the coaches, that's saying, hey, look, your team is really crap. How about we work together to build a great team? He takes a hands-off approach and just doesn't care. Like, he just doesn't care about the team. He doesn't care about the New York Knicks. He doesn't care about them at all. And I know this is now turning into a Knicks rant, but I mean, that's why I don't want LaMelo going there. I think if anything, LaMelo should be going to the Atlanta Hawks. Although they don't need another guard, I think that they could do something with those players like Cam Reddish, like Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter. I do think that they're going to keep him, but guys like Cam Reddish and Kevin Huerter, if you're able to trade them and maybe get a superstar piece and then have a guy like LaMelo Ball come off the bench, or even have him start on the team, I think that could be a deadly combination. I think the Hawks are yearning for a player and yearning for a team to really get to the playoffs, and I think that the Hawks are going to have that if they draft LaMelo Ball and trade away a couple of their pieces that they have on the team. And that's just kind of my assessment of LaMelo Ball. I'm going to continue to do these draft series. Obviously, the first one we did was on Ball. Now it's going to be an interesting situation what we see going on in the draft. Now that the NCAA tournament is canceled due to what happened, I want to see what's going to be happening to the stock levels of each player. What's going to happen to a guy like Anthony Edwards? What's going to happen to a guy like Obi Toppin? What's going to happen to a guy like James Wiseman? Like, what is going to be going on with those guys? Like I said, we're going to be continue talking about it, and that's something that was going to get us through this whole pandemic. And I'm hoping that you guys are staying safe, washing your hands, and making sure that you stay away and social distancing yourself from other players and other people. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And like I said, guys, I want to talk to you guys in the next video. Remember to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Enough of me talking. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.